It's a four-car comparo, crossovers and all turbos. The old guard versus the challengers. We're gonna go through the exterior, the interior, the engine, and a practical acceleration test to see just exactly how they fare in the real world on this episode of Behind the Wheel. Do you need help purchasing your car insurance? Head on over to AutoDeal.com.ph/car-insurance. Here, you can compare prices and customize your insurance coverage from many of the Philippines' top providers. When you've selected the insurance that's best for you, simply fill out the application and complete the transaction with ease through Visa, MasterCard, GCash, GrabPay, or PayPal, and receive your policy within the next business day. Get the best deal on insurance with AutoDeal. For some time now, the two cars that have been leading the category in terms of our comparos and our data on AutoDeal.com.ph is the Ford Territory and the Geely Coolray. Now that is the titanium version and this is the Sport Limited. It's not the SE, which is the latest model to come out from Geely, but it's essentially the same thing because with the SE, you've just got maybe features on the outside, but mechanically and feature-wise inside, it's actually the same. Then you've got the two guys that are challengers, which are the Honda HR-V and the MG ZS. Now, these guys have been updated in the sense that the ZS is now the ZST, while the Honda HR-V, as before, of the 1.8-liter engine, which was fun, now it's a smaller engine, but it too has a turbo. So all of these guys behind me are turbos, and that is very exciting. Oh, and lest I forget, there is the one category that we've asked the audience a little bit of help with, which is how the car looks as a whole. Now, I'm sure you've noticed that we've put these photos of these cars, blasted it all over our social media pages, trying to ask you guys which one looks best. And to that score, we will add to the rest of the score of this particular comparo, which, let's start right now. Now, after finding some shade to be able to film these cars properly so they don't look washed out on camera, we're ready to begin our comparo. Now, I did say that the exterior would be decided by audience participation, but I would be remiss not to at least give you a small tour or walk around of the exterior of these automobiles. Let's start with the front clip. All four turbo cars have DRLs. The Territories are L-shaped. The Coolrays kind of resemble eyeliner on a rocker. The so-called Challengers, the ZST and HR-V, have them shaped like eyebrows. Now, all cars have LED headlamps. However, the Territory and the ZSTs are halogen. Ground clearance is marginal with a few tens of millimeters difference between the four. Bigger is the difference between the wheels. See, the ZST and HR-V sit on 17s, while the Coolray and Territory are equipped with 18s. Roof rails and sunroofs are found all around, save the HR-V. And then the Coolray is the sole car without a shark's fin. Now, the Territory stands alone with full LED tail lamps, while the rest are a combination of LED and halogens. Not really a big thing. But the ZST and Territory have fake exhausts, or rather finishers. They're found underneath. The HR-V has a dual exhaust system, and the Coolray, man, has a quad exhaust, and it's also the only one with a power tailgate. How about that? Now that we've given you a small taste of the exterior, the vote still is entirely up to audience participation as to which one actually looks best. And we'll tally all those scores and we'll give you the results at the end of this particular program. But if you were to ask me on my personal preference, I'd say that the HR-V would probably look best to me. However, I would like to steal somebody's 18-inch wheels and stick it on the HR-V because I find the wheels just an inch too small. But hey, it's still the best looking one for me, for now, at the very least. Let's get on to the next topic, which is practicality in cargo space. Now, in terms of cargo space, let's start with the HR-V. I've found that you can actually fit a balikbayan box here at the back. The question is, however, can you close it? And the answer is, well, yeah, if the box doesn't have anything. But if that were a full box, that would be an issue. Even if you remove the tonneau, it's just that this portion right here hits the box as so. But if you need more space, the beauty about Honda is they've got these magic seats that when you tumble them over, you've got so much more space available to you that you wouldn't think would actually be available in a tiny car. And then there's the bonus of the fact that if you want to slide heavy boxes, that's a spider. But if you want to slide heavy boxes into the front or the back, depending on how you look at it, there is a small lip, but then there's a ramp that helps you push the boxes along all the way up there to a point where, because of all the space that you have, you could actually fit a total of 3 boxes easily inside the car. A fourth, yeah, that's not going to happen because of the dimensions of the automobile, but 3 balikbayan boxes. That's actually awesome. Then it has an extra trick up its sleeve when it comes to cargo space. Come around here and I'll show you. There you go. Shoe fly. Now, when you put the seats up, and if you need to load taller items, they've got this trick where you can lift this seat. Ta-da! You can lift both these seats actually and load in much taller items than even me. In the case of the MG, and it's pretty cool by the way because you just flip over the logo like that. The lip is not as deep as the HRV, but the amount of space that you have is very, very limited in the sense that a balikbayan box surely will not fit in, but it has a secret. The fact that you can lower the floor by so much that you will be able to fit a balikbayan box in the proper manner, like so, even with the tonneau on, and then you've got the rear seats not bothering you at all, and the door will close. Huh? That's pretty amazing. But obviously the bad part about that is that the lip is quite deep. You can see that the balikbayan box disappears quite well underneath. And then there's the fact that obviously you can fold the seats, right? Which you can, but when you do, and it obviously exposes a heck of a lot more space, the problem is that the rear seats actually create a very large void or gap, not a void, but a gap to a point where you can't push the box back. Now, without the tonneau, obviously you'll be able to lift the box and carry it up there. But what if this thing were weighing, let's say, for example, 20, 30 kilos? Then it would be a back bender for you to be able to carry this box and lift it up. So the fact that you can't slide it, that's a little bit of a downer there. But the fact that you can put a box here, close the boot lid, and still have 2 or 3 passengers in the back, that's actually a big plus. Now, moving on to the Coolray, and it's got a cool feature because it's the only one with a power tailgate in this Comparo. Sadly though, the trunk space is not that large. I'll tell you this much though, that it has one of the flattest, I was about to say fattest, but flattest lips that you can find. So carrying heavy items, like let's say for example, a heavy balikbayan box, won't be an issue because when you put it in, it just slides right in. That's where it stops, however, because the box does fit. Even when you take out the tonneau, it will fit. The problem is the door, again, won't close because of the way that it's shaped. And it's also because, according to Joey, it's also how the seats are positioned. So even if you remove the tonneau, which you kind of can, and you close it, I'm scared to because I might break something, but obviously the balikbayan box will not fit with passengers in the second row. Then, of course, your space becomes so much more. And I'm just going to remove the tonneau here, which is one of the easiest to remove, actually, of all the 4. To demonstrate that the box definitely will fit into the automobile. And the thing is, it may not have a ramp like the HRV, but at the very least, it's actually still somewhat pointed up. So pushing a heavy box is still going to be pretty easy. The problem is it's such an angle that it might actually fall back on you. The total space capacity, though, would be roughly the same as the HRV because you will be able to fit a total of 3 boxes. Last is the Territory, which too also has a flat lip, so loading heavier items is not an issue. Putting a balikbayan box in, also not an issue when you slide it in. Now, the tonneau is here, but I will tell you, yes, that a balikbayan box definitely fits inside the cargo space. In fact, yeah, I guess we might as well demonstrate it. Even when you remove the tonneau, rather, you will be able to fit a balikbayan box back here. And the beauty about that is that even when the second row is in play, you will be able to close the boot door and it fits. And there's even enough space to put like a suitcase. Huh? How do you like them apples? Oh, and also when you extend the space, obviously, when you put the chairs down, it is not like the HRV, so to speak, which is, it's got a ramp to help push the boxes up. This, though, has a small, somewhat ramp to help push boxes that are much heavier all the way to the back or the front, depending on how you say it, which makes it pretty easy. The angle that the box is hanging on right now is not as steep as the other examples that we showed earlier, and the pushing is not as easy, but at the very least, you can fit, much like the other cars, a total of 3 balikbayan boxes if you really want to. Thanks, Joey. So there's that. And then obviously there's still space for even a suitcase. Where is this person going? He's got 1 suitcase and 3 balikbayan boxes. The hell? So to wrap everything up, in points, we're going to give 1 point, a single point to the Coolray, because, well, you can't really maximize anything there. What you get is what you have, sort of to speak. And loading stuff, although it's easy with the flat lip, it's just, well, it's bitten on space is what I'm trying to get at. 2 points to the ZST, although you do have a hard time pushing the boxes back. At least you can maximize the bottom by bringing it down lower, and you can put a full balikbayan box in there. We'll give 3 points to the Territory because you can slide boxes all the way up to the front or the back, depending on how you put it, and still have space. And a full 4 points to the HRV because, well, versatility is the key word there, where you can push in the boxes all the way to the back or the front, depending on how you look at it. And then there's the ramp to help aid you push the boxes back there. And then the seats can fold in so many different ways to accommodate whatever else that you need to put inside the automobile. Now let's talk about the interiors of the automobile, the general interiors of the automobile and how comfortable they are. Now here in the Territory, fall leather found around the entire car with white stitching found on the seats. Rear passengers have 2 air vents and a USB charging point and a center armrest with 2 cup holders. Bottle holders can be found on all 4 doors, but oddly, just a single cup holder in the center console. Still looks pretty swanky though, with many textures all over, including fall wood panels on the dash and the doors. However, up front, there's a lot of piano black plastics, which are dust and fingerprint magnets. Not a big fan of that. Space is pretty darn good. Even with the glass panel above, there is a very good amount of space available even for the rear passengers. Now, driver comfort is par for the course, really. While I have none to complain, Jack found the bolstering and lumbar support lacking for larger drivers. In the Coolray, I gotta tell you, the first thing that you notice is when you sit down, it's actually very, very soft. There's a lot of give. So it means that it's actually very comfortable. To get out of the automobile, it's not gonna be that much of an issue because it's not as if it's a sofa, right? The one thing though, is that what we notice is that when you're sitting inside the rear seats of the Coolray, is that you may feel somewhat claustrophobic. Because you sit so low, the windowsill is also quite high. The window isn't actually that big. So I'm not a very tall person, but look, because my shoulder is actually below the window line, and that makes it feel like it does somewhat claustrophobic. Fall leather as well all around, but I'm not too sure if I'm completely sold on the black and red pattern. Sporty, yeah, but I guess all black would have, kind of felt more premium. You've got a center armrest with 2 cup holders, bottle holders on all doors, a single USB charging port at the rear, but sadly, no air vents. An awesome point is that instead of piano blacks, you've got brushed aluminum all over the car, which I absolutely adore. Build quality inside is good and materials are good to the touch. Now, in the ZST, you definitely will not feel claustrophobic because the windowsill is not that high in that sense, and the fact that there's a lot of light that comes in from the panoramic roof. Leg and headroom, however, isn't a worry, with good amounts of space for all passengers, albeit better for a complement of 4 rather than 5. A generous pair of air vents and charging points for the rear, but no center armrest is available. The seats have a good give, but offer less thigh support than others in this Comparo, thanks to a kind of like a less angled, more leveled configuration. Less flattering, however, is the carbon fiber print on the fall leather, and even more so the less than premium plastic panels found on the doors. Driving is non-taxing as well, but there are some driver drawbacks such as a non-telescopic wheel, and cruise control is on the stalk rather than the buttons on the wheel. That, however, just may be a personal preference though. I am not going to use the word claustrophobic because we use that to describe the Coolray, but inside this car, it might actually apply as well. Confined might be a term used to describe the HRV, and for larger passengers, it may just be. The sporty roofline diminishes headroom for people like Jack, but remarkably, legroom is actually very good. Not just space. The Magic seats are great, no doubt, but the gap found in the rear is a tad off and wouldn't be ideal if a third passenger was necessary. However, the seat material, still fall, is of very good quality. 2 air vents and a charging port, a center armrest with 2 cup holders, and elevated bottle holders on the doors on the rear. There are, however, a lot of piano black plastics, which has been indicative of recent Hondas, which sadly is not great. Driver comfort is great. However, the HRV is the only unit in the Comparo that doesn't have power seats, which I think is a miss. A good hit, however, is the wheel itself, which is great to the touch, and as well as the knobs for the air. Great texture and the proper amount of resistance really does give it a premium feel, which altogether should age well. Now, the ZST is not as claustrophobic feeling as any of the other automobiles, that's true. But because it's got a lot of scratchy plastics inside and the busyness of the leather and the red stitching and whatnot, we're going to relegate it to 4th place and give it 1 point. In 3rd place, we're going to give 2 points to the Territory. Now, while there is a lot of room in the Territory, I just feel as if that the interior, well, there's a lot of scratchy black plastics in there, and at the same time, the configuration is just sometimes odd or sometimes weird, really, because, well, let's take, for example, the center console, where there's only 1 cup holder and then wasted space. Not to say the design isn't good, it's just that, well, there are 2 others that are a little bit better. Now, in terms of the HRV, it's got the best driver comfort and a cabin that seems like it will really age well. Unfortunately, because of the amount of space that you're limited to as a passenger in the 2nd row, we're gonna relegate it into 2nd place with 3 points, which means that the winner of this particular category, taking all 4 points, is the Geely Coolray. Now, yes, as we mentioned earlier, you may feel a little claustrophobic in it, but truth be told, I like that cover personally myself, because I try to block as much sunlight as possible. The material inside, yes, the red leather may be a bit much. It's a little too busy at times, but it is forgivable because the material itself is actually pretty good to the touch. And then there's the fact that there's a lot of brushed aluminum that's found all over the cabin, which I think adds a really premium touch to it. And piano black is like non-existent. For those 2 facts alone, if it were, I would award this with 4 points. But for all the factors included, yeah, we give it the 4 points. Our next category is technology inside the automobile. Now, while they all have touchscreen infotainment systems, they've got cruise control, they've got a digital display, they've got automatic air, they've got a reverse camera, and even electronic parking brake. It's what these cars have over one another, and just exactly how good they execute these things or how bad they execute these things is what sets them apart. We award 1 point to the ZST because, well, it doesn't have adaptive cruise. And the other thing about the cruise control is that it's kind of annoying for me because it's not on the steering wheel, it's actually on the stalk. Also, the air conditioning controls are a bit cumbersome to get to. There are no physical buttons or knobs for it. It's actually on the digital display, and that can get a little bit laggy. Now, in 3rd place, or with 2 points, we're going to award that to the Coolray. Now, while it does have a 360-degree camera and cruise control, unfortunately, again, it's not adaptive, and this time around, the car doesn't have Android or Apple capabilities. While it does have auto park assist, which works, new drivers might actually have a hard time using it. And at the same time, I feel as if that, well, it's not exactly a party trick, but it's not really something that you're going to use on a daily basis. In second place with 3 points is the Territory. Now, while it does have adaptive cruise control, it's got Android and Apple capabilities, it's got all the bells and whistles, it's just that the execution of it can be a little, well, cluttered is what I'm trying to get at. Again, with this particular automobile, when you're trying to get to your air control, since there are no physical buttons, it takes a while. There are a lot of layers just to be able to get to what it is that you want. It may have a spec sheet a mile long, and it's quite impressive, but the truth is, in the actual application of it, it falls a little short. And in first place, awarding it with a full 4 points will be the Honda HR-V. Now, I understand that people will say, like, unlike some other cars in this competition, it doesn't have a 360-degree camera. Granted, that is true. But we argued that over a 360 camera in a car of such size, well, you should be able to park it without any problems whatsoever, that you would more often than not use your Apple CarPlay or Android Auto over that. And the fact that it has all these bells and whistles and the execution is actually pretty darn good. In addition, the Honda sensing actually works very, very well. It's very polished and it's quite easy to use. If you'd like to see more about the Honda sensing, do check out this video right here. After 3 categories, here are the standings. The ZST is in 4th place, looking to crawl back. It's just got 4 points. Then you've got 7 points for the Coolray, and not far ahead is the Territory with 8. Should be a close fight, but leading the pack is the HR-V with 11 points. At the heart of the Territory is a 1.5-liter turbocharged gasoline engine, which is a 4-cylinder that produces 141 horses and 225 Nm of torque. Now, in the Coolray, you also get a 1.5-liter, but this time it is a 3-cylinder turbocharged gasoline engine that produces 177 horses and 255 Nm of torque, mated to a wet DCT. Now, in the MG, you also get a 3-cylinder, but this time it is only a 1.3-liter turbocharged gasoline engine that produces 161 horses and 230 Nm of torque, mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission. And finally, in the HR-V, you get a 1.5-liter 4-cylinder that's mated to a CVT that produces 174 horses and 240 Nm of torque. Oh, and if there's anything to note, it's the same engine as the Civic. Now, unlike our previous Comparos, we basically just, well, treated the engines as a piece of paper and figured out which one had the most horsepower, which one had the most torque, and awarded it that way. This time, we're doing it a little bit different. We will consider the power, but that's later on our drive. Here, for this particular segment, we're actually going with fuel consumption figures, which God knows everybody actually is looking out for that nowadays, especially with the rising cost of fuel prices. So in that case, the Ford Territory, although pretty good at 11.5 kilometers per liter, which is combined, actually falls in last place. The Coolray does a little better at 11.9 kilometers per liter, again, combined. The MG even better at 13.5 kilometers per liter, city and highway combined. But at this juncture of our Comparo, it seems as if that the HR-V is pretty far ahead because combined fuel efficiency, highway and city, it gets 15.1 kilometers per liter. Pretty awesome. Now, with the fuel efficiency done and sorted for that particular category, let's now figure out exactly how this power feels like when we're driving them on the road. So let's go for a drive right now. Okay, so we're gonna do the speed test inside the ZST. Got my little GoPro here, 50 kilometers per hour. Then I'm gonna bury it in 3, 2, 1, go! Oh man, where's the speed? What happened? Are we moving? Oh yeah, now we are. And stop! What was that like? 10.77 seconds. Truth be told, it actually felt a little longer than 10.77 seconds because when I buried the throttle, there wasn't much engagement and I was cruising at 50 kilometers per hour. So yeah, it doesn't excite you, truthfully. But I'll tell you this much, it's actually very comfortable and it's very quiet. Considering that up front is a 1.3-liter 3-cylinder, it's actually pretty quiet. I expected more engine noise because of the smaller displacement. But no. 3, 2, 1, go! Bury it. and there is a lot of pull that comes from the Honda. Stop. Stop, 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 stop. 6.81 seconds, my goodness. That is almost 4 seconds faster than the ZST, the first car that we drove. And I gotta tell you, wow, what a pull. This thing, my goodness, this is a CVT. How can it not be like a traditional automatic or even a DCT? The pull was just really amazing. I am impressed. I am impressed by that pull. That was 50 to 100 kilometers per hour in. Oh, wow. I'm speechless because we had just come from the ZST where it felt as if it was extremely linear, and this time around it's a bit more, well, I wouldn't go as far as saying visceral, but it's a heck of a lot more engaging. Amazing. This is essentially, after all, an engine that you will find inside the Civic, so perhaps that's why it performs so much better. Comfort-wise, however, for the driver, I can say this, that it's top-notch. The steering wheel feels great. The seating position is great. You can adjust the steering wheel up and down and forward and back because it is telescopic. But I will say that from the ZST, stepping into this, it's a completely different car in the sense that, well, the ZST was more inviting to sit in and be comfortable in. And I do mean comfortable, like a comfortable pair of slippers at home. Whereas this is, it's a pair of running shoes, really. It feels great for the foot, but it's really more engaging. It invites you to drive. It's more like, come on, let's go for a drive. Whereas the ZST is more like, come over here to me. So here we go. I'm slowing it down to 50 kilometers per hour. Jack, are you ready with the timer?
Yeah.
Okay, slow it down, 55, 54. Okay, I'm gonna cruise at 50. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, go! Okay, there is definitely a pull, but it took a while before, before it actually got, stop! It took a while before it actually got there. There was a bit of a lull. 7.46 seconds. So as of the moment, the HRV does take it because it had a much quicker pull to it. It was immediate. Whereas in this, the Coolray, it felt like the turbo was spooling for quite some time before anything actually happened. When it finally did, the kick was actually pretty darn good. It felt nice. It's just that, again, there's that lull, and that lull sometimes is what kind of gets to some people because they want things quick, fast, and in a hurry. 3, hang on. Come on, 50, okay, we're at 50. 3, 2, 1, go, bury it. There's a lot of noise. Oh, sorry, I'm supposed to leave that there. There's a lot of noise, but not much going on. Stop. There was a lot of noise. I don't know if you could hear that in the microphone, but it seemed as if that it took forever to spool off, and it took 10.74 seconds. That is it at par with the ZST. But at least with the ZST, there was much less noise that you could hear from the engine, and it didn't feel like it was spooling as much. The CVT obviously has something to do with that, but it felt as if that it took a day and a half, compared obviously to the Coolray and the HRV, but these two cars obviously felt like it was a day and a half before it actually got something done. But what surprised me the most was the amount of noise that came out, and this is a 4-cylinder, not a 3-cylinder, was just, I don't know, man. That was kind of tricky for me. The comfort of the automobile, I gotta tell you, is, well, it slots just in between the ZST and that of the Coolray and the HRV, in the sense that it's not as soft as the ZST and it's not as stiff as the HRV or the Coolray. It's a good middle ground, to be honest with you. And really, when you look around the cabin, there really is a lot of space in this automobile. Say what you want about the tech, that's a little bit buggy, and the fact that the engine makes a lot of noise and it doesn't move forward, but the amount of room that you have in here is great. This seat is, I can bring it down even more by maybe a couple of millimeters, but look at the amount of headroom that I have. I'll tell you this much, Jack doesn't have an issue driving this car because of the amount of space that you've got. The results of the speed test are in, and it's as clear as black and white. The truth is, what I didn't expect is that the comfort and the way that I felt driving these automobiles would also reflect in the exact same manner as the speed test. So in that sense, we give 4 points to the HRV, 3 points to the Coolray, 2 points to the Territory, and a single point to the ZST. So the only thing that's left is truly the price and our verdict. Oh, and yes, of course, our user-generated voting about which one has the best exterior. But before we get into that, the prices, which are probably even more concrete than the speed test that we just had, which is the fact that why we give the ZST a full 4 points, because it comes in at just 1,158,888 Philippine pesos, the most affordable of the bunch. In second place is the Coolray at 1,288,000 Philippine pesos. No ifs, ands, or buts. That's actually pretty good value for money. In third is the Ford Territory. Now this puppy comes in at 1,310,000 Philippine pesos. Now it's starting to get truly expensive, isn't it? Yes, but here's the whopper. The HRV comes in at 1,598,000 Philippine pesos. More affordable, yes, than non-turbo, but we're all talking about the turbos right here. And that's almost 1.6 million Philippine pesos for this HRV. Is it worth it? Truthfully, yes, it is. Sans our verdict for everyone, yes, it's definitely worth it. But with the other automobiles here, you do have many options. The ZST is almost 450,000 Philippine pesos cheaper than the HRV, and yet it's still able to keep up with the competition here. That is pretty darn good. Now, in terms of the Coolray, truth be told, it's not actually that far when it comes to performance, comfort, and tech from the top-of-the-line HRV, which is much more expensive. And this comes in at just 1,288,000 Philippine pesos. So very, very good value for money. And this is one of the old guards that are still keeping it up with the Challenger, so to speak. Again, also with another old guard, which was one of the top sellers and one of the top of our comparos in the past, is the Territory. Granted, it is a bit more expensive and down on a few things, such as, well, engine performance, but space is actually amazing in that automobile. So it also still makes a case for itself. If prices weren't an issue, I think, truthfully, I would lean towards the HRV. That's just me. But that's not to say that none of these other cars don't have merit for themselves. They carry themselves very, very well. And if you would like a more detailed review of each of these automobiles, well, the links are in the description below because we have driven these cars. All that's left now is to tally all the votes that you guys cast on our social media pages to find out which one you guys thought was the best looking of the bunch. Now the results are in and you voted as to which one you feel is the best looking amongst all of these automobiles. However, because of its unsurmountable lead on previous categories, the Honda HRV is crowned our champion, and rightfully so, as our 2022 Subcompact Crossover Champion. So congratulations, Honda. It seems as if the car that started this whole kerfuffle is actually back up on top. And I'm taking it home.